Secretary Scott Bessent, and he'll deliver some very short remarks, then we'll go right to your questions. Thanks a lot.
Good. Thank you all for coming. As Elliot said, I got some short remarks. It's a pleasure to join you this morning here at USA House and Freedom 250. Today marks 1 year since President Trump's historic return to office, and the United States enters its 250th year from a position of great economic strength. We are, by all measures, the strongest place for capital in the world. President Trump has led a 12-month transformation of the U.S. economy. Our capital markets are unmatched in their depth and breadth. Economic growth reached approximately 4% in the president's first 2 full quarters in office and exceeded 5% in the fourth quarter, and the Atlanta GDP Fed now is showing 5.3%. This has been driven by investment, productivity gains, and resilient consumer demand. In parallel, inflationary pressures have moderated, labor force participation has strengthened, and private capital formation has accelerated. Wages have grown every single month since President Trump has been in office, and the American worker is strong and resilient. President Trump and I were at a Ford plant in Dearborn, Michigan last week, and that was borne out there. Here in Davos, amid ongoing uncertainty for other countries, market participants are increasingly seeking out jurisdiction that offers stability, clarity, and scale. The United States continues to lead across all 3 dimensions, which is why the rest of the world wants to grow with us and invest with us, and we welcome them with open arms. Taken together, President Trump's policies have delivered a historic economic comeback for both Wall Street and Main Street in record time. For too long, Main Street has been overlooked. President Trump's policies have put American workers first, the backbone of our economy. This leads to prosperity. When our nation prospers, everyone wants a cut. The smart money is on America, and we welcome our partners who want to build, innovate, and expand alongside us. There's rarely been a more compelling case for investing in America, and we invite you all to join in this 250th year and to be part of the next 250 years. So,
thank you, Mr. Secretary. Let's take questions just so you guys are tracking. We have about 20 minutes. I'm going to start in the back there. Please state your name and outlet. Thank you.
Good. Well, as I've often said, the Trump economic plan is a 3-legged stool. It is trade, tax, and deregulation. Trade, we have signed historic trade deals, and we are bringing in the hundreds of millions of dollars of tariff revenue. But more importantly than that, on the other side, and I think what goes unnoticed and it should be highlighted, is as we do these trade deals, not only is the U.S. taking in revenue, we have pushed down the tariffs mostly to 0 with other countries, and we've taken down non-tariff trade barriers. That's why you saw a dramatic jump in exports in the U.S. in the 3rd quarter. On tax, we got the one big, beautiful bill done on July 4th, which no one said could be done. And in that, we have full expensing, permanent, which gives business great certainty for equipment. We have full expensing for factories and ag structures, so we are seeing a CapEx boom. The CapEx is up 12%. In the history of economic cycles, CapEx booms always lead to employment booms. And then thirdly, and the silent part that is really taking hold now, is the president's deregulatory agenda. For too long, we have over-regulated. We are in Europe, the center of the great regulatory morass. The Draghi report came out and said that Europe needs to deregulate. President Trump has taken the initiative and deregulated, whether it's what the Treasury does in financial markets. We are safely and soundly deregulating the banking and financial system. According to Oliver Wyman, we may have added $2.5 trillion in lending capacity, which will help finance our AI boom. In energy, we are making it possible to drill in the U.S. again. And in, excuse me, In every other industry, we are cutting back regulation, and that is leading to great certainty for businesses. We have, in the U.S., we have tax certainty, regulatory certainty, and energy certainty, which makes the U.S. the best place in the world to come and invest. We have 4 fantastic candidates. It will be up to the president, and I would imagine that he will have an announcement maybe as early as next week.
Great. We'll start up here in the front. Name and outlet, please. Thank you. Right there. Yep.
What's going to happen with the U.S. agreements on tariffs with the U.K. and the EU in light of these new tariff threats over Greenland? And why should any country ever enter a trade agreement with this administration when one day to the next the goalposts could change? And how do companies, you just mentioned certainty and just mentioned capital expenditures. If I'm a corporate executive, how do I know how to make decisions about future investments, about CapEx, if I don't know what my costs and fees and customs duties I'm going to face in the future?
Well, again, I would say this is the same kind of hysteria that we heard on April 2nd. There was a panic. And what I'm urging everyone here to do is sit back, take a deep breath, and let things play out. As I said on April 2nd, the worst thing countries can do is escalate against the United States. Back then, only one country, China, escalated. We ended up in an unfortunate tit-for-tat in tariff raises. We ended up at 145, 125. Through President Trump's good relations with Party Chair Xi, we have managed to stabilize that relationship and given great certainty. And as far as your question about the additional tariffs, what President Trump is threatening on Greenland is very different than the other trade deals. So I would urge all countries to stick with their trade deals. We have agreed on them, and it does provide great certainty.
Great. Thank you. We'll take the next question, please. Let's start here in the front row with the laptop. Please state your name and outlet.
Tim Bartz from German magazine Der Spiegel. If it's true that your economic policies are so successful, why doesn't it resonate with the American people? Your president and the government is highly unpopular in your country. Are they not able to understand what you have achieved, or what's the reason for that?
Great question. I can tell you what we are not going to do. We are not going to do what the Biden administration did, and I believe the American people still have inflation PTSD from the biggest inflation in 49 years, and the Americans, they are right to be upset. The Biden administration created an affordability crisis like we have not seen. We are working to bring that down, and please recall that many outlets in this room said that it was a vibe session. The American people do not know what they are feeling. They don't know how good they have it. What I believe is that the policies will take root and that we are going to see a very, very strong economy this year. We could see 5%, between 4-5% real growth, which would mean 7 or 8% nominal growth. And to answer your question, you may not understand the nuances of the way the U.S. tax bill worked, but part of it is a timing problem. When we did the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th, which included the president's signature policies for working Americans, no tax and tip, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. If you buy an American car, the IRS, which I am also the commissioner of, did not give withholding guidance. So Americans continued paying at the same rate. So in the first quarter, we are going to see substantial tax refunds, maybe up to $1,000 for working households, $1,000 per worker. So we will see these substantial tax refunds. The Americans will adjust their withholding, and they will get an automatic bump up in their weekly or monthly paychecks. So I think that we are on the cusp of an acceleration that working Americans will feel.
Thank you. We'll take the next question. Let's please go right here, ma'am, with the scarf. Name and outlet.
Christine Lee, most recently with Bitcoin Magazine. Can you give us an update this year in 2026, what America's strategy is for a Bitcoin strategic reserve? And given that the SDNY recently seized Bitcoin from developers working on a project called Tornado Cash, what does the administration think about that, contrary to Trump's executive order saying that Bitcoin should not be, seized Bitcoin should not be sold?
So a lot of things to unpack there. I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin specifically. What I will talk about is the administration led by Treasury and our colleagues on both sides of the aisle in Congress passed historic legislation, the Genius Act for stablecoins. We are working on clarity legislation. And our goal, again, it is the president bringing digital assets and innovation onshore to the U.S. We want to be the best regulatory regime for digital assets and creativity to spark innovations. The previous administration almost created an extinction event for digital asset companies. We are bringing them back. I'm not going to comment on that litigation other than to say if anything was seized, I believe it would have been seized from the founders, and the policy of this government is to add seized Bitcoin to our digital asset reserve after the damages are done. So the Bitcoin reserve, our view was first you have to stop selling, which we have done, and then we can add the assets in asset forfeitures.
Great. We'll take the next question here in the front row, ma'am, with the turtleneck, please.
It's a big turtleneck.
Name and outlet.
Mr. Secretary, Hadley Gamble with IMI. Thank you so much for taking my question. The first part of which is there has been a great deal of talk by EU governments and the UK about exercising the so-called nuclear option when it comes to Greenland, which would be essentially to dump U.S. treasuries. How is the Treasury Department and the White House prepared for that? What's the plan if that's something that they begin to do?
Well, I just want to say this is a false narrative that there is no talk in European governments. This was a report written by Deutsche Bank that this could happen. The media has latched onto this. I think it is a completely false narrative. It defies any logic, and I could not disagree more strongly on that. If you look, the U.S. Treasury market was the best performing market in the world, or the best G7 performing bond market, and we had the best performance since 2020. It is the most liquid market. It is the basis for all financial transactions, and I am sure that the European governments will continue holding it. And as I said, I think everyone needs to take a deep breath, do not listen to the media, who are hysterical, just like they were, just like you all were. Let's just go back to what happened after April 2nd, hysteria. And what happened? We had the fastest stock market recovery in history. So I think these false narratives get out there, get spun up out of control. When I was an investor, part of my success was sticking back, looking at the medium and long term, and ignoring the media.
And so just to follow into that, so you do not believe that the EU or the UK have any retaliatory financial instruments or measures in their bag that the United States should be worried about?
No.
Let's go to the next question. Ma'am, second row, scarf, please, name and outlet. Thank you.
Hi, Jordan Holman with the New York Times. So as you're here in Davos right now, which CEOs are you planning to meet with? And have any of them, either European specifically CEOs, expressed any concern over Greenland and the trade agreements? And if not, what are you hearing from them?
I haven't met any the CEOs yet, and my intention here is to meet non-U.S. CEOs who I couldn't meet in D.C.
They will express to you?
Well, I try not to anticipate the question.
All right, thanks. Let's go right here in the middle.
But I will give them the same message I just gave you all, that take a deep breath and let this play out. Do not listen to the media hysteria.
Thank you, Mr. Bessent, and I'm the journalist from China Media Group. I want to ask that the FED said 37% of U.S. adults can't cover a $400 emergency. What do you think of it? And some calls list the Q line or Alice line for U.S. people, and the Q line is mainly for it's used to describe the fragility of American household of finance. Unexpected expense is enough to plunge the middle class into the financial ruin. So what's your opinion of it?
Again, if we look back to President Trump's first term, hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households had their net worth increase faster than the top 10%. And as I said, I believe that the households that you're describing there will be receiving substantial tax refunds. And again, as you said, many people have said to me, oh, so what's $1,000? That, as you said, to these households, $1,000 is a substantial fill-up. They can put it toward savings, or they could pay down debt. As I said, the Biden administration torched the financial standing of these households. The average CPI PCE increase was 22 or 23%. But for these households, which had a different bundle of goods and services than the indices, their costs, whether it was groceries, autos, rent, went up between 35 and 37%, and we are working every day to get those costs down.
Q line. So do you think there is Q line exists in the U.S.?
I can't.
Do you think the Q line for people that have meeting a huge expense, let's make from middle class to financial ruin exists in U.S.?
Sorry, I don't understand the question. I'm not sure you do either.
Guys, just so we know, we're at a 5-minute warning, so we got to keep moving. We have time for one or two more questions. Right behind the gentleman with the blazer with his hand up, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the floor. Raphael Zahlen with the Swiss News Agency. I have a question on trade with Switzerland. Do you plan to start a negotiation for an agreement this week? And do you have meeting plans with Swiss officials? Thank you.
Yes, I'm meeting President Parmalat, who I've had a very good relationship with since he's vice president. I think he is a very seasoned trade hand. I think he's very experienced on finance, and the Swiss-U.S. trade agreement is well along the road and progressing very well.
Great. And this is going to be our last question today. Guys, remember, there is a press briefing tomorrow for those who don't get one in. I'll take one from the back, ma'am, in the blazer. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for taking my questions. I'm Malin from the Swedish business newspaper Dagens Industri. I just wonder, do you consider Europe to be an ally of the United States? And if so, I mean, how much economic pain are you prepared to inflict on Europeans and Americans alike in order for the United States to get their hands on the territory of an ally?
Again, I think that question is a miss of the false alternative. You're once again going to the farthest point, a maximalist position, that we are in the middle of President Trump's policies. And of course, Europe is an ally. The U.S. NATO membership is unquestioned. We are partners in trying to stop this tragic war between Russia and Ukraine. But that does not mean that we cannot have disagreements on the future of Greenland.
Yeah, but if there's a protracted trade war between the U.S. and Europe...
But again, you say, if there's a protracted trade war, why are we jumping there? Why are you taking it to the worst case? Calm down the hysteria. Take a deep breath. This is where we were last year. I'm sure you would have asked me the same question if we were here on April 2nd. And you know what? It all worked out. The economies are fine. We have a very good trade agreement. And I think our relations have never been closer. If anyone in this room wants to go back and study history, has anyone done that? What happened in post-World War II? It was not a straight line. Konrad Adenauer did not always agree with the U.S. presidents. Charles de Gaulle certainly did not agree with the U.S. positions. But that did not mean that we were not strong allies against the Soviet Union, did it? You want to answer that? Did it?
So what's your message to European business leaders then who are now hesitating about the financial relation they have with the U.S.?
That it's been 48 hours. As I said, sit back, relax. I am confident that the leaders will not escalate and that this will work out in a manner that ends up in a very good place for all, for national security, for the U.S., and for Europe. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. That's going to be the last question for today. We have to restage this room. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thanks.
What I will again remind you all, there is another press briefing. Everyone who is here today is invited tomorrow. I would project that during tomorrow's press briefing, there will be additional discussion of trade. That would be a good time to get any of those outstanding questions in. Thank you so much for coming.
A practical basis, please let me